Hello, and welcome to a podcast from the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. This is Dr. Ann DeSantis, Executive Director of the Foundation at Nonnatus.org. Please check out our ministry. We help families in crisis. We offer free pastoral care for families in crisis, all kinds of crisis. I have a wonderful guest for all of you on the podcast today. I have Carolyn Klika. She is the founder of Abounding Joy Ministry, and she is also a coach for divorce healing. Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a delight to be with you, Anne.
Yes, it really is. I've been excited about this podcast because we do have many things in common. Obviously, we're both Catholic, right? And
Yes.
we are both in ministry. I'm actually in ministry with a religious order, the Mercedarian Religious Order, and you can learn about them at orderofmercy.org. And Carolyn is really focusing on divorce healing, which is something of a small part of what we do in our foundation, where we've helped many families who are affected by divorce through our pastoral services.
Mhm.
And Carolyn is doing coaching for those who are affected by separation and divorce in many different areas. And Carolyn, I thought we could start out with your story because you have this ministry and obviously you got into it in some way, shape, or form. So we would love to hear about you.
Well, thank you, Anne. And I just want to say I so appreciate all the work and the overlap, all the attention and ministry and support to families because it's just so incredibly needed today. So, a little bit to introduce myself. So, I am a lifelong Catholic and from no merit of my own. But I was schooled in catechism and it was introduced to Jesus from about the age of 2 by my mother. May she rest in peace. And my father was not a believer. He left the home when I was 6, and so I'm a child of divorce and felt all the significant impact and all the loss of that, and which is something that really never goes away. The pain goes away, but it's just such a deep impact, and that's something that I understand and that I lived. And so because of that, I really had a deep desire to have a holy, happy, healthy marriage. And I prepared more than anybody I knew to have that. And I married a healthy and Catholic, active in his faith gentleman, and was, just we were on track to achieve this dream of mine. And, I wanted to make sure that my children never grew up without a father. And we were married for 30 years. The sad part was that he struggled with many things, with physical ailments, emotional and mental ailments, and he also suffered with gender identity disorder. And to his credit, he really did try to fight that urge. And we had many, many conversations over the years, long, deep conversations. But ultimately, after about 30 years, he decided that he was going to choose to live life in the world as a female. And I felt that thereby rejecting his role of husband and father. And we had gone through many difficult years in the marriage because of his ill health and his mental health challenges. And so at that time, I couldn't dissuade him from making this decision. And so I felt the Lord very close, though. He really was close to me through all these years of struggle. And so I discerned divorce through canon lawyer and several priests. I always felt that I would be the last person on earth to divorce, and I know many people feel that way. Um, when when it came down to it and I was discerning, I really asked the Lord, what would you have me do? And he gave me a couple things to try to help my husband to turn from this decision. And I did one of them, which was connect him with a specific psychologist, and that did not go well. And the next thing was to take him through the Unbound healing program. And we did that over the course of several weeks. And where I had seen that make huge impacts on many people, for him, it didn't. At least I couldn't perceive that it did. And after that, there was nothing left to do. And so I was advised by a canon lawyer to, to separate and divorce. And it took me over a year to discern that and really have the courage. It was, the deepest blow that I've ever experienced. And I know that many people out there go through horrific situations in their marriage and are either left by a spouse or feel the need that it's just unavoidable, which is not God's plan for us. So we had 3 children, and we also adopted 2 children from Russia, and they came with their own needs. And my husband was not able to work after the first 5 years of our marriage due to his health. And so I had 5 children. I had a company I had 50 employees involved in Catholic work. And so it was a crazy, crazy time, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So the result of that time was the fracture of the marriage, divorce. And then I applied for an annulment. And in that process, it took a while, because while my diocese approved the annulment, it was appealed to the archdiocese, and then it was appealed all the way to Rome. And I know that's not a usual situation, but in that, God gave me the practice of patience. I'm not saying I'm patient now, but I got some good practice in of waiting. And I always say to people when they're going through an annulment process, this is a time to focus on patience, on surrender, and submission to God's will, instead of being impatient and saying, I want to move ahead. No, it's a time to grow closer to Christ. And anyway, for me, the final annulment did come through. And it was at that point then that I felt free to begin, dating or having any kind of relationship. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, wow. I mean, I knew some of your story, but not all of it. So even for me watching, and those who are watching on YouTube, wow, I just give you so much credit for how God worked through you and how you were able to move on and actually make this ministry with God's help, right? And to do something very good to help other people that are affected by separation and divorce. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Because I know the next question we were going to discuss is how you came up with this idea and how this ministry came to life. Please do
Well,
share.
yeah, and I would love to say I conceived of this brilliant plan, and I had this business plan, and no, the Lord did all of this. I've been along for the
Please
ride.
share.
He has guided me. Well, first of all, when I was going through the divorce, I saw this minefield of all these pitfalls, which were temptations to bitterness, greed, anger, resentment, and so forth. And I thought, this is a time that I'm going to be very tempted to sin in grievous ways. And so I went to my husband and I said, let's make an agreement that we will try to help each other to not sin. And I felt like the Lord was so close to me, right at my shoulder, and guiding me. And I think he did. I mean, what do I know? But it felt like he did that very intentionally and very specifically. And so we were able to have a more amicable divorce because of all the guidance that God gave me. In fact, on the way to the courthouse to get divorced, I said to him, why don't we stop at the Adoration Chapel and go in and have a prayer for each other for the next chapter of our lives? And he agreed. And so we went in, had our prayer, and then went to the courthouse to get divorced. But that to say that in after the divorce, of course, and the devastation, I needed to find healing. And there wasn't much around. I went to the John Paul II Healing Center in Tallahassee, Florida, and I also went through the Unbound Healing Program by Neil Lozano and did many other things. I was very active to achieve healing because, I mean, for those of you listening who are going through divorce or have been divorced, you understand the devastation, and it just breaks apart every aspect of your life. The loss that I incurred was almost total. I didn't lose my 5 children, thanks be to God, but I lost my home, my job, my company. I lost my friends, my community, my bed, my nest, my security, my stability, everything. And so I walked through it with less support than I really could have used. And so I feel like God put a call on my life to minister to others as he had ministered to me throughout that whole process. And the church has such wisdom. It has such wisdom and comfort, not only in canon law, in the catechism, and in scripture. And as I went to the church and her wisdom to help myself, for the church to help me directly, to be able to know how to do this, because there's no book per se on this is the church's manual on divorce. We don't have that. But I'm working on that. And I just want to say I am 100% for marriage. I love marriage. God gave marriage to us as one of the greatest gifts. And so my goal always is to help preserve and save marriages and to make them as healthy as possible. That's God's will for us. And so God called me into this divorce ministry, and I began to see that my story and what I had gone through, and the guidance that God had given me, and the church had given me. I realized that many people haven't tapped into that and need a more direct. They need somebody with skin on to minister directly. And thank God for our clergy, because I've spoken to so many people whose priests have just been a source of great guidance and comfort. And at the same time, there are many priests that unfortunately have not had the formation and have not been trained to be able to help. And so people often are at a loss as to where to go for help. And so I founded Abounding Joy Ministry in order to minister to people who are three different groups. One that's discerning and saying, we're kind of at the end. I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know. I'm Catholic. I don't want a divorce, but I don't know if I can go forward. I can't hang in there. What do I do? So the discerning. And then those who are struggling through a divorce that they either feel is unavoidable or their spouse left and there's no chance. And the third group is those who are divorced and are trying to heal and recover and rebuild their lives.
Yes. And I'm sure that you probably get them from all stages. I'm guessing that third group, I'm sure that you definitely get people from that group, the ones that are already divorced and need to just find that healing after the fact.
Definitely. But you would be surprised how many people are discerning. I think that in the Catholic world, because as Catholics, we believe in the sanctity and the permanence of marriage, and so there's it's a great conflict. If you're not Catholic and things aren't going well, I think it's less complicated to think, well, I'm not happy, this is bad, I'm getting out. I deserve happiness. And that's what the culture tells us. And that's also reflected in the lower divorce rate among Catholics versus non-Catholics.
Hmm.
But yeah, so there's a lot of people in all three groups.
Yes. So tell us more about sort of those beginnings, because I would love to hear, we would love to hear the beginnings of your coming. As you said, the Lord guided you with everything, even the name. So just tell us as much as you can about this beautiful ministry.
Well, thanks for asking about the name because, truth be told, I wanted it to be alphabetically toward the beginning, but I think that was just a way that God had of showing me that He wants for us abounding joy, that He doesn't want to leave us in our suffering. We do suffer, but He wants for us every good thing. He wants abounding joy for us. And that is joy, is goodness. Joy is from the Lord, and I'm so thankful to Him that that's something that He has really given to me in spades. That that there is so much to be thankful for and joyful about. And as I founded Abounding Joy, my goal was to minister again to people separated and divorced and those struggling in relationships, and to bring back the joy of the Lord in their lives. And so, just by way of background, the Lord has prepared me in so many ways. My background, I have a degree in psychology. I'm a certified life coach, and I've had training in spiritual direction and in healing ministry and theology of the body, interpersonal communication, and all of those aspects. And so my approach in ministering is whole person. So emotional, psychological, spiritual, physical, interpersonal. And so I'm not coming at their healing and ministering to them simply from a spiritual perspective, like a priest would, and I'm not coming from a strictly psychological perspective, like perhaps a therapist would, but but I'm really blending all of those dimensions together because we are body, mind, soul, and spirit. And we weave the virtues into everything we do because they provide guidance as to how we are to treat each other and how we're to interact in the world, right? And so one of the things that I started to do early on was to connect with people who needed coaching in terms of discernment. They're bleeding in the street, so to speak, that that their pain level is so high. And when you're in that much emotional or existential pain, you can't even think right. And we know that neurologically. If I'm being chased by a bear on the trail, I can't add 2 + 2. I'm all up in with adrenaline. And so it's really important for people in those crisis moments to have someone that is faithful to the church, to be able to bounce those things off of, to be able to sort through them and go through a sort of systematic discernment process to see, can this marriage be saved? And and I work through with some tools that I've developed. One is called open door invitation, where if the communication has broken down to the point where they really can't productively communicate, that I invite the other spouse to have a conversation with me, and we try to identify what are the needs and the wants of both, and try to get them some wins right away, and which breeds hope, which opens their heart a little bit and makes them a little bit more willing to flex and to be reasonable, and they feel a little safer. And so whether or not they end up following through and divorcing, I work with them to rebuild and restore at least their co-parenting relationship to protect the children. And that's a prime focus for me. What's going on with the children? And
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. So important. And as we still have some time in the show, but as we're kind of headed toward the end in the next 10 minutes or so, I wondered if you could share with us, just say someone's watching, they go to the website. Can you
Mhm.
take us through sort of the steps? So they contact you, you have an initial meeting. So just take us through those steps, because people might be wondering, maybe it's for themselves and maybe it's for somebody they know. Maybe it's their daughter, their son, their sister, brother,
Exactly.
neighbor, whoever it is. But we would love to know a little bit more of the sort of the ins and outs of how it works. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Anne. So, I have a Facebook Catholic Divorce Support Group on Facebook that you can access just through, if you go on the Facebook, my name, Carolyn Klika, and there's a link there, easy to find. And in that Facebook group, we minister in general to people, and they can ask questions, post, and so forth. And then I offer a free consultation call. And it's interesting that how it's developed. I created a needs assessment survey so that people can do the survey. It's very easy, a lot of check boxes. And so it doesn't take too long, which gives me really and gives them kind of an overview assessment of what their needs are. Are they more parental needs? Are they emotional? Are they psychological? Are they spiritual? And what are the aspects? And so anybody can schedule a free consultation call with me. Just go on my website, aboundingjoyministry.com, and they can schedule a consultation call. And I found that there are a number of people lately who are interested in divorce ministry, meaning they want to get into it and they have the heart and maybe the calling, but they don't have the equipping. And so they'll go on and schedule a consultation call, and I will help them, give them resource materials, and do everything I can to help them get started. But back to those who are struggling. So, consultation call. If they're discerning divorce, we go through a specific step-by-step process to discern based on their exact situation and identify what are the goals. What is it that he actually wants? Does she want? What are the struggles? What has been already tried? Have they tried counseling? Have they gone to Retrovi? What have they done? What are the obstacles? And then what are some potential solutions? And thank God that He has equipped all of us, with so many tools through Scripture, through the Catechism, through psychology, all of that blended together to be able to reduce pain in a situation where it's a very difficult relationship, regardless of what the other person is doing. I find that often the relationship can get substantially better, even dealing with just one person who has a completely unreasonable spouse. And I know they're out there. But we can't control what he or she does. We can control what we do. And so that's what we focus on. And the ripple effect, we don't have control over that person, but we have influence. And so the way that we treat the other person deeply affects how they treat us. And, there are many situations with mental illness and addiction that there just is an unsafe situation. And so protection is needed. And so we assess all of those dynamics. And then we try to bring the other spouse in through open door invitation if possible. And I thought, when I started that, I thought that like 2% of other spouses would come in, but it's over 90 or maybe over 95% times when the other spouse agrees to meet with me. And that has just blown me away. And it's a specific process that I've developed that helps to open the door to that communication. And then from there, we try to reconcile to whatever degree possible. And I also developed the family agreements playbook, because there's all these guidelines that really are beautifully given to us by Christ, but in a way that we understand through respect, integrity, and how to come back from when we've broken agreements, what to do, and that there is a path of redemption, which is very Catholic. So over time, in the last 8 or 9 years that I've been doing this and dealing with literally hundreds of people dealing with or struggling with or trying to heal from divorce, I've found that they have taught me so much. And each time there's a situation that comes up and I think, oh, we need a tool, we need to see what Scripture says about that. And so over these years, I've developed dozens, if not hundreds, of worksheets and info sheets and resources for people in order to help with their particular situation.
It's just such a blessing to let other people know, people in our network at the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, because as I said at the beginning of the podcast, some of the people that come to us are those who have suffered because of separation and or divorce.
Yes.
And so it's great for them to be able to hear this interview and reach out to you at aboundingjoyministry.com. Okay, I want to make sure. And that Facebook group, as you said. Now, is there anything else, like any kind of other call to action, retreats, or anything that you want people to know about?
Yes. So I developed a 12-week, very deep dive, comprehensive healing program. And again, that's for people before, during, or after divorce. It's called Build a New Life Workshop. Because if you're married, the marriage needs new life. It can't go on the way it's been and survive. If the marriage is over, at least the civil marriage is over, we need to build a new life. I had to build a new life, after my annulment. And so it includes 12 weeks of meetings. There's group coaching, there's one-on-one coaching, there are teaching segments, there's materials that I send out. And so to my knowledge, it's the most comprehensive, intensive healing program for divorce that's available. And so I've been running that the last few years, and I keep tweaking it and making it better. And there have been some incredible people that have come through, really from 4 continents have attended that. And then I also, because once the 12 weeks is over, they're saying, okay, now what? So I run a twice a month support group, and where there's group coaching, it's I lead it. We have a theme each time, and it's just a time for people to focus on a theme, but also bring any issues that they're dealing with at the time and get support and coaching around that. And so that's been going on for a few years, and we've got some incredible people in that group. And I just, I guess, want to say a word to the church, to pastors and to bishops and to family life directors. I want to call us all to action, because there are so many divorced people who are leaving the church, either with their heart or with their feet. And they report that other churches have more support than we do. And that's not the point. The point is that we are the hands and feet of Christ. And that when you go through divorce, you are spiritually at grave risk. And people misunderstand the church's teaching. They either have it wrong, like, oh, if I get divorced, I can't go and receive the Eucharist, or they reject the church because they feel the church has left them behind, which the church has not. But they misunderstand. And so we need to do our due diligence to make sure that we're out there and we are loving and we are developing divorce ministry. And that's something that I'm working on, developing an equipping and training program. And so I would say, if you're listening and you're interested in divorce ministry, please get in contact, because we need many more people doing this. So I just want to multiply the availability of divorce ministry and help those who are called.
Thank you. It's been an honor to host you on the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation podcast. I want to make a shout out to your audience, people who know you but don't know us, is that we offer free pastoral care for families in crisis. As I said at the beginning, for us, crisis really means a lot of things. It could be
Mm,
divorce, separation, job loss, loss of a loved one, health crisis, relationship issues. The
beautiful.
list goes on and on. We've had crisis that we never even would have dreamed of that reach
Mhm.
out to us. So please do. All you need to do is go to nonnatus.org, and we have drop downs for all those things: priestly consultation, prayer intentions, podcasts and videos, and retreats. We're located in Philadelphia. Our retreats are usually in this area where we're from, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. We do a lot of our retreats at the Dalesford Abbey over in Paoli, PA.
Ah,
But we'd love to connect with your audience too. And thank you for giving me the opportunity as well to meet some of your friends and contacts.
well, thank you for all that you and your group do. It's amazing. It's much needed, and we are both soldiers in
Yeah,
workers in the vineyard, right? And
that's
there's so
right.
much to be done. So thank you for all of your good work, and
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Well, God bless you. And to everyone else, we will see you the next time here at the Philly Nonnatus YouTube channel and at nonnatus.org. Carolyn, thank you so much again.
Thank you. God bless you, Anne.
God bless.
All right.